And my board member told me this when I first bought the business. He said, you need to spend at least 40% of your time with the selling or being in front of your clients. You need to, he said, that's how you learn what you do. That's how you learn the industry. That's how you learn how to consistently delight your clients.
That's how you grow.
That's how you grow.
Welcome to P&L, Priorities and Lifestyle, with your host, Rob Schultz. Rob is the founder and president of Schultz Wealth. All opinions expressed by Rob and his guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Schultz Wealth Limited. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Please refer to our website for more information.
Welcome everybody to P&L, Priorities and Lifestyle. I am your host, Rob Schultz, and today I have Will Young. Will, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. So Will, I'm really excited about today because we're going to talk about the front part of a business journey. A lot of times on this show, we're talking about, after the business has been bought and developed, and then we're more into the transition stage. But you, my friend, are right in the trenches. Is that what it feels like right now?
Definitely.
So tell us a little bit about your business. So you purchased it in 2021.
Yep.
Right? And what's the name of it? It's Aerowave.
Aerowave
right?
Technologies. Yeah.
Okay. What does Aerowave do?
So Aerowave is primarily a two-way radio company.
Okay.
We're a channel partner for Motorola and other manufacturers as well. That's how I would have described the company, or it was described to me, I guess I should say.
Okay.
Now I think of us, and more and more so, a safety and security technology solutions company. Still with a lot of emphasis with Motorola, other manufacturers as well, but I don't want to just be a two-way radio company, and I don't think of us that way. So the plan and goal would be to carry a broad solution set of technologies that improve safety and security for our client base.
So safety and security using the technology of the airwaves with two-way radios.
Two-way radio, surveillance, access control, and other solutions, which who knows down the line what that even looks like.
Okay, so when you purchased the business, it kind of had this one product, I guess, and focus. And since you purchased it, you've expanded it into more this broader vision.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah. So when I bought it, I'd say 99% of the historical revenue. Airwave was 20 years old when I bought it. Now it's 23 years old, and 99% of the historical revenue was two-way radio. So at that point, that's what I thought the business was. Now, in 2018, Motorola bought a company called Avigilon, which we're a Motorola channel partner. We sell the majority of the radios we sell are Motorola. And when Motorola bought Avigilon, which is actually based in North America and has a huge presence, actually physical presence in Richardson, we were able to start selling, the prior iteration of the company, start selling this cameras and access control.
Oh, I see. Okay, so they basically added it to your product line.
Correct.
And from my understanding from talking to you previously is, so you're primarily probably in schools, right?
That's like a little over half of our.
A little over half,
yeah.
And they're using this technology for security.
Yes.
Which is a really big deal.
Right, which is a good market to be in.
Okay.
And changing rapidly. So when I bought it, we had somebody who did Avigilon, surveillance, mostly surveillance, a little bit of access control. We'd done a little bit of it, and it has grown since I owned the business, not really out of anything I did, at least at first, or since I owned the business. It sort of was happening anyway. And then we've made some investments into people to take this and take it from sort of an afterthought to where I think that's a huge part of, a big leg of the stool, if you will, going forward, in addition to the two-way. And surveillance is a big push for Motorola. This is probably their fastest growing segment of their business as well. So this is, I think that's going to be a big big driver of our growth in the future.
Well, that's exciting because I mean, it sounds like you're perfectly aligned, you know, with your strategic partner in essence.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Yeah, we're trying to be. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
It's never perfect, believe me.
Yeah, they make decisions that they don't consult us on, but that
Yeah,
nor would you
I could
expect
see
them
that.
to.
Yeah, we understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we swallow as much of what they push down our throats as we can, and
Sure.
try not to bite off too much.
So you are in the thick of this business owner thing,
Yeah.
and this is new to you.
Yep.
You know, people who are just listening to this, you're a young man. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay.
Yep.
But you've done a lot. I mean, so you know, pretty impressive. Duke University grad, Harvard grad, MBA from Harvard. Yeah.
Yep.
And then after that, did you immediately say, well, I want to own a business, or what did you do kind of in between there?
Yeah, so take a little bit of a step back. When
Yeah.
I graduated from Duke, I worked for a private equity firm in Boston called Audex Group. And I worked there for a year and a half. And one of the companies that I worked on, one of their portfolio companies, was in Houston called Distribution International. And Audex specializes in kind of like the roll-ups and the doing a platform deal and then buying several other businesses, putting them together and then selling them. And so DI, this company in Houston, the CFO of the company, I worked with him all the time from the kind of investor side. He offered me a job to come work for him, work for the company, and help them do some acquisitions and then get it sold. And so I went through that process. So I'd already moved from kind of the investing side to the operating side, and I liked that. It sort of felt like it fit what I wanted to do better. But when I was kind of that had run its course, I decided to go get and pursue an MBA. Was lucky enough to get into Harvard and while I was there, found out about search funds, which is the process or a way to basically go look for a business to buy and then run yourself as the
Okay, so define what a search fund is for everybody.
Sure. So it's changing very quickly.
I'll bet.
This world has kind of exploded, but generally it's folks my age, maybe a little bit older, who are either coming out of MBA programs or changing their career path to go and find a small business, family-owned business or whatever, to go buy and then run themselves. And there's several ways to do it. You can go raise actual sort of institutional money to go and find a company, and then you're sort of, once you close, you're the CEO, but you have a board, you have like institutional investors. It sort of looks like private equity deal, and generally they're selling within that kind of 3 to 7 years to exit and get the return for the investors. The other way to do it, and I'm kind of painting a broad brush here, but the other way to do it is to not go raise institutional money and kind of bootstrap the whole thing, find a deal, and then raise the capital to close the deal, and then you're not as kind of on that same timeline. You're on the longer if you want it to be. If you want to exit, you can, but you're not trying to hit necessarily like a 4-year IRR threshold kind of thing and exit. And I did the latter. I didn't raise any money, ended up searching out of business school, moved back to Dallas where I grew up, and started searching for a company to buy. And it took me 2.5 years, but then I ended up finding Airwave and closing on it. So
okay, so I guess it's just kind of like puts you into a structured process, and gives you some tools, gives you some people, gives you the ability to kind of build a bench around you.
So, well, once you buy the business, you mean?
Yeah.
So yes, I'd say the phenomenon is exactly the same in what you're looking for. I mean, it's, I guess, variations, but more or less the same. But once you buy the business, the operating, whether you raise institutional capital or you don't, very much changes your kind of time horizon. So I already have friends from my business school class who've already exited after they raised, institutional money, versus I don't really have any interest in exiting my business in any sort of near-term horizon or anything like that.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, if you buy, if you have institutional money, generally you can buy a little bit bigger, a little bit more put together businesses. And so you might be looking at acquisitions or trying to grow very quickly, or the business is already growing very quickly, versus if you're buying kind of like I did, self-funded, they have a little bit more hair on them, these businesses do, or
Sure.
they can. And you're kind of doing all the diligence yourself. You can't afford to go do a deep dive, with a million third parties and stuff like that. So you kind of have to
Right.
buy something and bet on yourself a little bit and hope that you can figure it out. Which, in my case, it seems like, knock on wood, has worked so far.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work. There's risk
No.
associated with it. But there's risk associated the other way too. So.
Yeah. That's really interesting. So, tell us about the Harvard experience. I imagine that as a pretty competitive environment.
Yeah.
Tell us kind of about your experience.
Sure.
And, kind of what it's done to prepare you for where you are today.
Sure. So the MBA experience, it's competitive. Definitely getting in is competitive. Like,
Sure,
it's very,
yeah.
very hard. You're competing against really, really sharp people who've done a lot of really cool things. Once you're there, it's not quite like maybe a law school or even medical school, where like your rank matters and it very much impacts like where, your GPA very much matters on where you're going to go. You can get a job at that law firm, but not this one or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more open to, some people are going to go into investment banking or consulting or private equity or work for a Fortune 500 company or start a startup or whatever. It's kind of a little bit more broad exit opportunities, I'd say, out of it. And so you're not so much competing. Now, if you want to go work for McKinsey or Goldman or something, that's very competitive. I found out about searches as pretty much as soon as I got to Harvard, about doing a search fund, and I was like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And so I never recruited on campus, which I think my experience was more fun because I wasn't worried about whining and dining the Morgan Stanley
I see, yeah.
recruiters or
Yeah.
whatever. Or being wined and dined, I guess would be a better way to describe it. And instead, I was, able to kind of focus more on school, and also Harvard had a very robust, I graduated 5 years ago, and I think it's even more built out now, but a very robust faculty and coursework and ecosystem of people who are interested in doing and pursuing and investing in search funds. And so when I was there, I took the classes, 2 classes on it. There's an entrepreneur in residence there that I talked to. There's a lot of searchers who've gone out and then started searching or have bought or have even exited. So you kind of have that whole, the alumni network to some extent is very helpful to kind of talk to about all this stuff. So that was really, really valuable for me because, you're not trying to learn to be a doctor, right, like you would at medical school.
True.
It's a little bit less of a hard skill thing for some people. For me, there's somewhat of a playbook for what I did, and learning that playbook and learning the people to know in that world was very helpful. And so I got a lot of academic benefit out of it that I'm not sure always you get from, like, not everybody who goes and gets an MBA is looking for an academic degree so much as the network.
To develop their skill. They're not necessarily looking to develop their skill. They're looking to develop their network and check the block and
exactly. It's
create
resume builder, and all those things are true for me
Sure,
too.
yeah.
The network was amazing, is amazing, but that wasn't necessarily that wasn't the most important thing I got out of it. It was A, finding out about this, and B, having folks that I could ask and who could coach me through that. And even like my biggest investors in my deal are the Harvard Search Fund faculty. And I have a 2-person board, me and the guy who teaches the class at Harvard on this. And so that's super valuable.
That's really cool.
And to have that, be able to kind of bounce things off of him who teaches the class on this, and then also, is invested in a lot of these deals, so he can sort of benchmark you in a way where you're looking at the business from 6 inches away, and you don't really, the sky always feels like it's falling, and to have somebody says, no, I think this is going well once a quarter is nice is very fulfilling and kind of a good gut check that, okay, like it's going to be okay. Businesses go through worse than this, and they're able to come out the other side. So
that's really encouraging to me, because I like to hear that they have that kind of thing going at Harvard. I know, they have entrepreneurial studies in different areas. I think the entrepreneurial journey is fascinating. And a lot of times, I think I can just tell you, I've worked with a number of clients over the years who, entrepreneurial get to some point, they get rolled up somewhere, and the Harvard MBAs come in. It's kind of like this: it's us against them kind of deal. But it sounds like there's maybe some shift there where you're learning some skills and learning to appreciate that true entrepreneurial journey. And that there's just a lot of really good resources, and that they're encouraging that. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. And at least this search fund world has a ton of. It's not just Harvard. Stanford has this.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the elite business schools do. And it's. I think since I even bought my business, like my understanding is like small business Twitter has exploded, and I don't follow it as closely now that I'm in the operating phase, and then I did in the sort of search phase. But there's a lot of folks who are interested in this. And at Harvard, 270 people took the first class, 90 took the intensive class, but then only 18 actually did it. And so there's a lot of interest, but then if the alternative is the McKinsey job, which is safer and definitely
More money
higher
up front.
at the front, when push comes to shove, I think people are more and more circling back to it after they've paid off their student loans or learned whatever it is they need to learn or built up a nest egg or whatever the case may be. More mid-career people do it than I think used to. When I was at school, the folks told me hardly any, if you're going to do it now. Don't wait.
Oh, I so agree with that. I think that sometimes, it's happened to me before. I've gone down a certain track and then almost gotten trapped.
Right. Right.
You can get trapped by the money.
Right.
You can get trapped by, all sorts of things that, make you take pause to, go and take the risk to do what you really want to do. Yeah. So I agree with that.
When I graduated and started searching, I was not married, didn't have a house, a mortgage, a baby. So I was relatively, unlevered at that point.
Yeah.
If you will.
Can you imagine doing that now?
Yeah, right. And now if I was tell my wife, hey, our mortgage, you're going to have to cover all of it and childcare and all that stuff. I'm going to go, try to find a small business or whatever. That is a lot harder I'm sure that would be a lot harder. Fortunately, I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I've already proven the concept,
tough.
but and people do. But I think that would be very, very challenging than versus the way that I did it. So,
yeah. So when you were doing this search, tell us about kind of what you learned. I mean, when you were looking at different companies and so forth, what were some of the things that you saw that you didn't like? What were some of the things that you did like? What were some of the things that really appealed to you when you purchased, the company you have now?
Yeah. So when I graduated, I actually moved back to Dallas and had a partner I was searching with.
Okay.
So I had a really good friend, or have a really good friend from business school who's also moving back to the Dallas area. And he is a serial entrepreneur, really good guy, kind of engineering background, very unique person. And I have more of that sort of traditional financial background, kind of new modeling and all that kind of stuff. And so we both searched together, and we did it the first 18 months when we were still working together. We did it all via business brokers. So think investment bank, but way smaller.
Sure, yeah.
And so we were bidding in somewhat competitive process. This is nothing like if, Harris Williams takes a deal to market or whatever, and you've got, big private equity firms bidding on it. But, still we would work on a deal for a long time, and then somebody would bid 50% more than us. Or you would find that there's not that many businesses that get brought to market that are kind of in the criteria we were looking for. And so you kind of burn through them, and then you're just sort of sitting around waiting. And we had 2 deals under letter of intent, had submitted 4 or 5 other ones as well to a letter of intent. And both of them fell apart for different reasons. The other ones didn't work. And after 18 months, my partner actually moved to West Texas. My now wife was girlfriend at the time was in Boston. We were doing long distance. It was just a lot of strain and stress on everybody at that point. And my partner ended up doing a startup, and he's done really well with that. But I wanted to stay the course with what I was doing. So in January of 2020, I relaunched on my own by myself. And instead of going via business broker, I did it all direct outreach to the companies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you just started dialing.
Cold emailing basically.
Yeah, okay.
And so a friend of mine from business school who bought a business a year before had figured this out. He's a really, really, really successful guy. And he showed me a lot of the ropes about how to do this. And I adapted his model a little bit, but was searching in DFW and in Boston, and sort of was like, well, wherever we end up is wherever we end up. And so there were like 18,000 companies that broadly fit the profile I was looking for between Dallas and Boston.
18,000.
18,000. And so built a database, used some college, high school intern type folks to help me build this database, started sending, thousands of emails. And 20% of them, people responded to them. A lot of them told me to kick rocks. But you could get down from 18,000 to 3,600 within just the first email, and half of them tell you to kick rocks. So now you got 1,800, which is still a lot to work through.
Sure.
But and then of those, only half of them will ever get on the phone with you. A lot of them aren't interested in selling. A lot of them won't give you their financials. So you're thinning out this funnel very quickly. And so I was agnostic to what the company did. I was
Understood.
I was like, broad funnel, and if it fits these kind of 5-6 criteria that I have generally, then that's going to thin down the funnel pretty quickly. And so then I had 5 or 6 of them that I was kind of looking at after I'd worked through that list, and the one I bought was the one that was the most attractive to me based off all those kind of criteria that I had. And and this was in mid 2020, when COVID was happening, which changed, which was part of that too, but ended up acquiring it in January of 2021. So
okay, and here in Dallas,
and in Louisville, so in the DFW area.
In DFW, and your wife Janelle.
Yes.
Okay, so was she rooting one way or the other here?
I think she would have liked to have been in Boston.
Okay.
Her family's from Boston. She's from Boston. But we worked together on this, and we were engaged by the time I bought the business. We got married in October of 2021. So one of the nice things about going from a partnered search to solo was, instead of it it's 4 different people, because he got married in the search too. Instead of 4 people having a different perspective on this, 4 different opinions, it's 2. And it's a lot easier to have a conversation with your wife or girlfriend, fiance, whatever, about where you're gonna hey, look, does this work? Does this not work? We need to, we've all got to be okay with this, which is not easy, but we were able to work it out, and here we are. So
yeah. So how long did that process go when you started with your 18,000 search?
Yeah.
How long was that until, for instance, you went to LOI?
Yeah, so I started basically like January 1st of 2020.
Okay.
Kind of took the Christmas time. It was like, I'm going to...
And then it got really weird.
So I started building a list, and I started sending the emails like March 1st of 2020. And I think of COVID starting really as like when the day that Rudy Gobert on the Utah Jazz got COVID and shut down the NBA, which shut down all of sports.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought of as the beginning of COVID. I was having my first calls with business owners that week. And so, I was, oh my gosh, like, what is this going to do? And I was already almost 2 years into this process. I graduated from Harvard with a business MBA 2 years ago, and I still don't have a real job. And, now the world's going to shut down. And so I kind of was like, okay, do I need to pause this or not? And ultimately I decided, no, I'm not going to stop. I got to keep going. And even if these businesses aren't ready to sell, I can build a relationship with them and kind of, at that point we didn't know what the world was going to do. Some of them got torched, and some of them didn't impact them at all. I was lucky enough that my business that I bought didn't really have any negative impacts from COVID, at least at the time. And so then I found the company in June of 2020, talked to the owners for the first time, negotiated the deal throughout the summer, and I was looking at other businesses at the time, but signed a letter of intent in early September, and then it was 110 days or something from that point until we actually closed.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So your life has changed a whole heck of a lot in the last few years.
Yeah.
And Sounds like the business is going really well.
Yeah.
You're building your family.
Yeah.
You've got a very young baby, like under one.
10 months.
10-month-old baby, one on the way.
One on the way, yep.
And still obviously making a go of this business and all that.
Yeah.
Tell me kind of what that feels like. I mean, so I would guess that you're getting pulled in a whole lot of directions right now.
Yeah. So we got married in October of 2021. So I closed January 5th of 2021. So that we were engaged in November of 2020. So we were planning our wedding. And really, like, I didn't do a lot of planning. It was my wife. And you know,
you had a role,
to be
though.
involved.
Yeah, you had a role. You had to show up.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you know, was buying this business, and the business was growing really fast, but it was, you know, it was making good money. It was doing well, but it was really in a place where, like, the old owner sold it for a reason, right? That it was very stressful. It was stretching them. It was a husband and wife who owned the business before, who I bought it from, and it had gotten to a place where there was 75% employee turnover the year before I bought it, and so even though the business was growing and doing well, there was a lot of, like, struggles with it and friction and all that.
So there were some challenges for sure, right off the bat.
Right out of the gate.
Okay.
And then I bought it in January, and so the business grew through COVID. But when I bought it, so Motorola's, you know, 75-80% of our cost of goods sold. Motorola and other manufacturers too. I mean, it was telecommunications, you know, stuff with chips in it.
Yeah, you couldn't get product.
Yeah, so January lead time was a week for Motorola. Last year it was 28 weeks. And so you can imagine, like, so I had to sort of change the business model. We changed the business model kind of on the fly, to go from a just-in-time inventory to kind of more of a stocking, which
just like the whole world.
Yeah, we had a lot. I have had a lot. Still have debt on the business, and you know, trying to figure out how to run this business, which I didn't know anything about two-way radio, which was again the preponderance of what we do, and you know, trying to figure all that out, figure out my role versus how the sellers were going to fit into all this, and the employees, and people were, you know, people were leaving. There were people that were quitting, and it was incredibly hard hiring market in 2021. And so people, you know, we'd manage somebody out, or they'd quit or whatever, and it could take 4 months to fill a position for $50,000 a year employee, which is crazy. And so, you know, trying to figure all that out.
Yeah, it changed so fast.
It changed really quickly.
Yeah.
So we were able to manage through that, and you know, but it was a lot of a burden on me while we were going through that 2021, you know, that phase, and trying to figure all that stuff out. And then, you know, but fortunately, the industry I'm in, the business kept doing well and kept growing, and you know, we had to work really hard at it, but we kept going. And so then, you know, my wife and I got married, and you know, 2021 was hard. 2022 started to figure out a couple of things. I would not say by any means I was or am now even, you know, in control of the business. You know, I'm not, you know, there's you know, but it's getting a little bit better all the time. And then we had our baby in October of 2022.
Okay.
And so, you know, I have to be very, very involved with the business. But the nice thing about what I do, or what we do, is I am my own boss. And so I'm very beholden to our clients and to our employees and everything, and feel like, you know, I need to be there. But, you know, nobody's going to chew me out for not working on the financial model at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night, right? So I don't have to travel to, you know, to a client site for, you know, in Seattle for a week, like if I was a consultant. And so, you know, being able to come home, be with my wife and baby and everything is like very helpful, and, you know, it helps keep me sane for sure. But yeah, it's definitely a burden, you know, and being an entrepreneur, you have debt, all this stuff, you know, you carry that with you to some extent.
The stress of it.
And, you know, when I worked in a private equity firm, like I would work a gazillion hours a week and all that stuff, which is really stressful. It's a different feeling.
I agree. Feeling. Yeah, it's a different stress.
You're stressed for yourself, for your work product. But for this I feel stressed for my business. And if I can't make this work, this business, if I fail, a business that's been around for 20 whatever years and has 23 employees, like,
it's the employees, it's your family, it's everything.
Right.
Yeah, that's an interesting. That's very perceptive of you. Yeah, for sure. Hard work is stressful, but it is different.
Yeah.
And because we always talk about there's a difference between being a business owner and not being a business owner, and I think that's one of the big differentiators is that there's a burden on your shoulders that it's just there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you go on vacation, it's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If a client's frustrated, it's
Yeah.
your problem. If
Yeah.
an employee has an issue, and hopefully I'm building a team that everything is not always my problem. I think we've made a lot of progress on that. But, if people know how to reach me and that's a good thing. Like I want to have a relationship with all my employees, all of our clients. But, also on the other hand, if an issue bubbles up and they reach out to you, there's no one to pass the buck to hire or whatever, and ultimately it ends up being my problem to deal with or opportunity to deal to improve or whatever. So that's once you've done it, I think if you like it, I think it'd be impossible. I don't think I could ever get a normal job again.
No, probably not.
So.
Yeah, and for me and for other entrepreneurs or business owners that have, had ownership for a really, really long time, the trade-off is definitely, a positive. I think that, definitely, when you go on vacation, it's not the same as when you go on vacation and you don't own the business.
Right.
And things like that. When you go home for the weekend, it's different.
Yeah.
But the trade-off is that you do have a lot more freedom and control.
Yeah.
And it's just fun.
Yeah. Yeah. You bet on yourself as opposed to, and as opposed to just, hoping that you get promoted or having to play politics or whatever, to work your way up the food chain at a company. So. No,
I agree with that. And it sounds like, this isn't a quick turn and burn for you. That your intention was to buy this business and to grow it over a good period of time. Sometimes we call that kind of a lifestyle, business. I don't like that term myself.
Yeah.
But what it means is that basically, it's a long-term play potentially.
Sure. Yeah.
It sounds like that's the case.
Yeah. For me, I think there are types of businesses, and I wasn't opposed to this, that for me, I bought it with debt. It's a leveraged buyout. And, you could pay down the debt and then you get a team in place and you just cash flow the business. I mean, whether or not that's lifestyle or whatever, that's kind of what I think of as a lifestyle business.
Yeah, me too.
You're sitting there and taking the cash flow out of the business and working 20 hours a week or whatever the case may be. For me, and I didn't necessarily know this when I bought it, but I want to grow the company and I'd like to be involved. This is especially as we get better and better and solve processes and get really good people in our company and grow. I think my role has already changed a lot over the last 2.5 years, and will continue to change. And I hope that it's doing things that help grow the business. I don't think of it as a lifestyle business where I'm going to go play golf every day. I want it to be something where I go and am involved with growing it as opposed to just trying to take money out of it.
I like that. I have to be honest. I think I don't think lifestyle businesses really make it.
Yeah.
But maybe what I'm searching for is kind of the differentiator here, because we just see this all the time. People will talk in terms of they buy a business and then they talk in terms of 2x, 3x, 5x, and that's more of a short-term growth pattern, and then there's a long-term growth pattern. But I think you nailed it. I mean, if you're in business, you want to grow, right?
Right.
I mean, I would think.
Yeah, right.
So you're trying to hit some really good numbers, but it's not necessarily a multiple like a lot of people think. It's more of probably a percentage of growth of revenue year over year, some things like that.
Yeah, we run something called the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS.
Yeah.
Which happy to talk about that. But one of the big things with EOS is we started implementing it in August of 2021. So it's been 2 years. And the kind of EOS talks about a big, hairy, audacious goal, which is something you want to do kind of 10 years out.
Yep.
So
Your BHAG.
Yeah, your BHAG. Yeah.
Yep.
So we have when we started doing this, we defined it. Our measurable is not revenue or EBITDA or whatever. It's our measurable is lives connected. And so
there you go.
We want to, a radio would be a life connected, a camera would be a life connected, a repeater would be a life connected. A little bit of a funky metric, but it's that's the way we measure. We update everybody in our company every week on where we are in lives connected for the year. But we connected about 6,700 lives in 2021, and we wanted to do 75,000 lives in 2031. So
Okay.
over 10 times the size. And so, obviously it's somewhat correlated to revenue and profit and all that stuff, but it's how many lives can we connect? Because what we sell is safety solutions, right? And so two people, if you're on a crane and you're talking on a construction site and you're about to drop a steel beam on somebody's head, this is what the old owners told me when I didn't really understand why you would buy a radio versus a cell phone. They said, you don't hope that you talk to the guy on the crane when he's about to drop a steel beam on somebody's head and hope he picks up the phone.
Yeah, you're not texting him.
You're not texting him or calling him. It's, hey, watch out, you're about to drop the beam, right? And they hear it. And so that's what we're trying to do, is to protect people, to keep them safe, and improve their security and safety at whatever, schools, which is over half our business, but construction, manufacturing, all these different places where that's why people buy these things. People buy $1,000, $2,000 radios to keep themselves safe. And so that's the way we think about that. That's the way I think about that, is that's what we're trying to do over time. And that changes your perspective on, okay, we need to do X number of acquisitions. We need to get EBITDA from this to that and sell for this multiple to hit the return target we want. That's not how, all those things, that's the world I used to be in. And I still, obviously, EBITDA, net income, whatever, is still very important. I have investors. I want to make sure that they have a great return. But on a 10-year, 20-year time horizon, you don't have to worry about necessarily like, is EBITDA 2 million or 2.1 million, right now. It's, are we getting the people in place that allow us to connect 75,000 lives 10 years from now? And that's how that's how I think about it. And that's how we as a company talk, and the decisions we're making.
That's really cool. I'm a big fan of EOS, and I'm kidding with you a little bit. It sounds like EOS almost definanced you a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think that I'm a finance guy too.
Right.
And sometimes our numbers can really get in the way in a hurry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'd say, I don't know if you'll get all of it out of me ever, which is
Well,
probably a good
not.
thing, right?
Hopefully not. It's a very good skill and understanding to have.
And ultimately, business is a scoreboard, business, and so and ultimately, revenue, EBITDA, gross profit, whatever is
important.
Cash, probably more than anything is the scoreboard. But EOS did definitely. I love EOS. It's been amazing. But also being in front of the clients, and hearing how they use it. I never sold, before, other than selling myself on buying this company, really. And now probably 60% of my time I spend selling.
So it's humanized for you as well.
Yeah. And so, and then if you're selling, you're dealing with the clients. And for me as the CEO and owner of the company, I deal with every step of the chain, from the quoting all the way through to invoicing, and then follow up, and if a client has a problem, in a lot of ways I've been the sales rep because we've been trying to staff a sales team. I'm the primary sales rep, so they call me, and so I have to know what our technicians are doing, and so that is not obviously everything has a financial impact, but that's not what I'm thinking about. It's I'll give on this or that or whatever, and we're not trying to maximize profit today. We're trying to maximize relationships with our clients and prospects for the long run, because that's what is ultimately going to drive the success of our business in the long run. So
So you knew nothing about communications really before you bought this business.
Nothing about two-way radio, nothing about telecom.
You should have come to me. I was a communications officer in the Navy.
There you go. Yeah.
So
you
yeah,
would have been better off than, better place than me.
yeah. So the old joke, and when communications on a destroyer, sometimes sometimes things didn't work quite the way you would want them, and you get yelled at.
Yeah.
And I'd always just blame it on sunspots. Something like that.
Yeah.
Just like, it's out there. It's not us. It's something going on in the atmosphere.
There's something that our technicians every once in a while will send them out to a client site where they're having an issue, and the term they use is a Faraday cage, which is basically like a steel cage that, it's killing the radio signal, which is always BS when you
Right, absolutely.
It's a Faraday cage.
Yeah, just
Guys,
like sunspots.
don't say that ever again.
Tell them to use sunspots.
Yeah, sunspots. Yeah, it's like, okay, so that's how I know you have no clue and you're just making something up.
That's exactly
Don't
right.
use that term anymore.
Right.
Because then the client's like, hey, I heard we have a Faraday cage and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's, it's interference. Okay, interference, you can't ever find it. So, I try to stay away from that. But yeah,
It can be frustrating. It does not
finicky. Yeah,
It does not work all the time the way you would hope it would.
Right.
And it's just like pure physics, right? So you would think.
Right, which was my worst subject in high school.
Okay.
So,
Well, there's
self-taught on everything on the our radio frequency. Self-taught, so I don't know what that means. So anyway,
That's good.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I'll tell you, I think it's really exciting. Kind of you being on the front end of this and being long term into it, and looks like you'll never have a real job again. There's no question.
I hope not. That would be something. If I do, it's something I've probably gone wrong. So
Yeah.
I don't want
Well,
to.
it sounds like you're well on your way.
Yeah.
So you've got your BHAG out there, your big goal, growing your family and doing all the great stuff. But does it kind of feel a little chaotic right now as you work through all this?
Yeah. So EOS has helped a lot because,
Okay.
and if you're familiar with the EOS, and for folks who aren't, a big part of it is the accountability chart, which is an org chart with accountability. Accountability is 3 to 5 accountabilities for every seat in the organization. So everybody has to fit the core values of the company, which is the right person. The right seat is they actually want and have the capacity to do the job that they're hired to do. And we've had to clean up a lot of that stuff since I've owned the business because a lot of the people didn't fit the core values or they didn't fit the right seat or whatever. And so getting those people in, now we have a lot of really good people in the company. We just don't have enough of them. And so for me, it's become less chaotic for sure because now I have people that I can rely on to do things that I'm not good at or don't want to do or both. Usually it's both. And so that's made my life easier. Now that we're still a small business, we're still dealing with a lot of these things. And so, I've probably got 90 emails in my inbox right now from clients, right, that I need to go deal with. And, but it's much less, I don't as much have the sky's going to fall tomorrow like I did for the first year or two.
That's good.
So it's gotten better, and I think, a year from now it'll be better. I think a month from now it'll be better. One of our core values is constant improvement, and so I have to believe and do believe that every day we're making little improvements that lead to big results over time. And so for me, being able to be there for my family, I'm hoping that with the second kid that I can be around even more, and that and I don't know if we'll stop there. Or hopefully have more. That I can be very involved with my kids' lives and all that kind of stuff. And so it's very chaotic, but it's the road I chose, and so it's I'm okay with it. So that's good.
Well, it sounds like that you learned really quickly to use outside help. To, as we said, build that bench. Find EOS. And are you working with an implementer? Okay.
Yeah, we actually have our quarterly tomorrow. So,
okay.
Yeah, our next.
Yeah. So that's huge.
Yeah.
And to remind everybody, this is a Harvard MBA grad who acknowledged that want help within and want to continue to learn. So that's that's all of us. I mean, we have to be able to recognize that we only get better as we continually learn, and there's still a lot to learn out there.
Oh yeah. Well, and and I've been selling, for instance. A lot of EOS is like find people who love to do the job you need to get done, right? And who fit your company's core values. And one of the things for me, for instance, I've really enjoyed selling. I like it. I like being in front of the clients. But we've hired lately some really, really good salespeople who are definitively better at it than me.
Yeah.
And they maybe don't know it as well as I do because I've been doing this every day for 2 or 3 years and they've been here for a month. But the way they talk, the way they carry themselves, they are much more polished salespeople than I am. And seeing that is amazing because what I realize is that if you get, and I've known this for a long time, but if you get people who are really good and like doing what you need them to do, you don't need to do it. And so you can find, for me, what I'm good at and like doing, or love and am great at, which for me has been mostly putting my finger in the dike everywhere it needs to be for the last, for the last couple of years. But that's, where I can actually become the CEO of the company as opposed to the sales rep or, helping out with service or helping out with finance or whatever. That's, hopefully we get to a scale and I think we will, I know we will, that, having those people and having the humility or the, ego is always the enemy, right? And so having people that you can say, you're better at this, you take it, I want you to do it.
I mean, heck, sometimes even when they're not better at it, then you still need to hand it off. Yeah. Because as the top guy, as the CEO, we talk about time and space. Yeah. That, and a lot of leaders go through this where you're going, keep going, and then all of a sudden you have these good people in place, and you all of a sudden it starts creating time and space, and at first it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, well, I should be doing something.
Yeah.
I should be in my email.
Yeah.
I should be.
Where's the fire?
Yeah, exactly. But getting to that point and then getting comfortable with that, that's when you start to innovate. That's when you start to continue to have these really, really amazing ideas as to what is going to push your company further, longer, to be able to achieve those goals.
Right.
So sounds like you're kind of getting there. That's kind of cool.
So 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's always.
And for me, coming outside the industry, being in the fire has helped a lot because now I know what we do. I know why people buy this stuff. I know how they use it. And I think if you let everybody else do all those things, there's an end date to this. You don't want to be the guy doing this forever.
Yeah, but to know
it and say, okay, I understand what the clients are doing. And I think there's nothing more valuable. And my board member told me this when I first bought the business. He said, you need to spend at least 40% of your time with selling or being in front of your clients. You need to. That's how he said. That's how you learn what you do. That's how you learn the industry. That's how you learn how to consistently delight your clients.
That's how you grow.
That's how you grow.
Yeah.
And so, I've done that, and hopefully I don't have to do it on the quoting and kind of the. But I think always as a CEO, you need to be in front of your clients and maybe not selling as much, but hearing from them and talking to them, and that's the thing. They're the people who ultimately pay for everything. They're the people who direct you and will tell you definitively this works or this does not work because they put their money behind it, right? And so if they aren't willing to make that investment, what you're selling is not valuable to them, and which means you're going the wrong direction. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
very good. Well, Will, I really appreciate you having this talk with me today.
Yeah, it's been great.
I hope there's some folks out there that are kind of teetering on maybe wanting to take an entrepreneurial journey. Either they're young and just starting out, or maybe, like you said, mid-career or something, and wanting to do it. And I hope this is motivation for them to be able to maybe maybe look into it a little bit further and do it because it's awesome.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, it is. It's amazing. It's really cool. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's worth doing for sure.
Definitely worth doing.
Yeah.
So
if somebody is interested in talking to you further about your company, about what y'all do, about kind of your search, which was fascinating, by the way.
Sure.
Some of that. Is there a way they can get in contact with you?
Yeah. So folks can email me at will@arrowwavetech.com.
Okay.
Or on my, you can call me at 214-616-5778. Be happy to talk to anybody.
Yeah, that's awesome, Will.
Yeah.
And then Arrowwave is AEROWAVE. Okay, Arrowwave.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Well, thanks for joining us today, everybody. And as I always say, we try to put this out about every other week. This is very business owner, entrepreneur centric, trying to bring you some content to help you in your business. If you ever have any comments or anything that you'd like for us to have on the show, please contact me and let me know. Everybody have a great week. Take care.